Hi, today I wanted to talk a little bit about innovation. If you guys heard the podcast from this week, our Going Digital episode, we talked a little bit about how Amazon, Apple, Aeon, Allianz are revolutionizing certain industries by innovating on them. I got a couple of interesting questions from people in regards to this episode and in regards to my opinion on those things, and I thought I'd do a video about this. I think we should start with the definition of innovation. And if we look at Wikipedia, it says, innovation is the action or process of innovating. Innovation is crucial to the continuing success of any organization. But this is a definition. I think it's important for us to understand why, right? So why is innovation important? If you ask me, innovation can have multiple benefits to an organization, and it fits with the why. So innovation can bring you new business opportunities, it can help you with current customer stickiness, it can help you stay ahead of the competition, and it can also help you in cost cutting, essentially either by automating certain parts of your business or by really increasing the speed at that certain things are done. But in the end, in reality, if we look deeper into all of these things, they all come down to money. And this is actually something that's quite important for the organization. Another typical question I get asked is innovation and R&D the same thing? And I would argue that no, they're not exactly the same. Usually when you think R&D, it's extremely focused on technology. And if I have to think about innovation, I would actually put it as kind of a Venn diagram where you have a circle, which is your R&D team. You've got over here the business, and where these two things collide is where innovation currently sits. And this is actually important when thinking about, okay, I'm an organization and I want to build an innovation team. What sort of skills am I looking for in my people? What sort of team am I looking to build? And let's go a little bit into that. If I was to build an innovation team, this is how I would go about it. And it's important that everything in this video is my opinion, specifically based on the experiences I've had in my life. I've worked in R&D teams, I've built my own R&D team, I've worked in innovation teams, I've been on the business side, I've been on the technology side. So it's strictly my opinion. So if I had to go about it, I would start with getting 2 full stack engineers. I would get 1 DevOps. I would get 1 business person, and this person needs to know how to be a project manager as well. And I would also get a 1 media design guy, and this guy needs to know how to make videos, handle interviews, kind of a journalist, and at the same time do small designs of UX, UI, video editing, photo editing. They're probably not easy people to find, but this is my team constitution that I would put together for an innovation team. All of them would need to know how to do research as well, and we'll go into a little bit about why that's important when we talk about what an innovation framework would need to look like so that it would work inside an organization. So you've got your team. The organization wants to have an innovation team, and that means senior management needs to actually be on board with it, support it, give it the right budget, and understand certain expectations. There must be an expectation measurement from both sides, from the innovation team and from management that's approving this as well. For the innovation team, they need to understand that they need to focus innovation on the business cases that are interesting for the business, focus the innovation on technology that can be interesting for business. It's super easy to get distracted with everything new and shiny that comes out every day in technology. It's actually one of the biggest struggles I've seen technology teams with, is really being able to stay focused on the things that fit the organization. And from the organization and senior management, they need to understand that this is a long-term commitment. Innovation is not something easy to do correctly. There needs to be expectations from 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5, and 5 to 10. I have serious doubts that many organizations would be able to adopt innovations teams that think over 10 years because technology changes so fast and new business cases can come up seriously every different day, depending on what comes out. If we look 10 years back, Facebook was just starting. No one really thought about, Facebook ads. It's not simple. So if you're an organization that is just starting now thinking about innovation and building an innovation team, start slow. Start about having your innovation team communicating with your internal teams, understanding what problems they have, which parts are slow, and then understanding how can we speed that up, how can we simplify their work, and go from there. Don't try to straight away think, we're going to invent the next Bitcoin or the next VR. Try and start small. It's really, really important because that way both expectations from both sides will be met. Okay, so we've got our team, we've got our expectations. What comes next? Structure, in my opinion. You need to build a framework on which the innovation team can work. It needs to be a pipeline of some sort. It needs to start with some research and validation, where essentially, the team looks at what's in the market, what are the problems. It talks with their clients, and the clients can be external customers to the entity, but it can also be internal customers. We go into the second phase where we've done a small funnel of all of these ideas and we decide which ones we want to prototype on. So we create a prototype. And this can be Adobe XD, InVision, some type of wireframing, can be some paper prototyping, just so that you have something. Like something physical always looks better. Like something that you can show, something that someone can click, a button, something, rather than just theories and talks. We go into a third phase, client testing, where essentially you do client interviews. And even these need a proper environment. You need to have a room where you can record the client, you can record how he's behaving while using your prototype. You need to ask him some specific questions to understand what he thought about the product, and these need to be defined product by product. There isn't a standardized set of questionnaires, in my opinion, that you can ask that will give you all the answers you need. You need to sit down and think about your client and your product. And then you go into actually the last phase, which is called an handoff, where you've done the entire pipeline, you've agreed that it's a product that's viable, that can work, and you hand this off to another team. This can be actually quite hard for some innovation teams, depending on the staff that's working on them, because some people get attached to projects and they want to move on with these projects, as some people don't, and they want to remain in the innovation team and go back to the beginning of the pipeline. This is something, again, that you need to decide amongst yourselves how it fits your organization, how it fits your team, and all of that. During the handoff phase, it's important that the innovation team constructs a set of learnings, a report, and also if it's a failed experiment, I believe it is important to construct some type of post-mortem report where we say what went wrong. Because if you're getting to the handoff phase, you're already in, say, 2 to 3 months into this project. It's a long time and a long cost for the organization. It's important to learn what went wrong in the earlier phases so that we can make it better. So we need to think a little bit about the why. Let's go back a few steps. Amazon is now into healthcare. Apple, Cisco, Aon, and Allianz are revolutionizing cyber insurance. These are industries that are old. They've been here for a long time. When I talk to boards and senior people at these companies, they're like, well, we're going to be here for a long time. Startups are not really going to be able to disrupt us. I partially agree with them. I said this on the podcast. I partially agree with them that startups are not able to fully disrupt these industries. But Amazon, Apple, Cisco, Aon are no longer startups. They're big tankers with huge war chests in terms of money that they are willing to spend. And they're looking for new markets, which is why it's extremely important for banks, insurances, pharmas, and healthcare to build innovation teams. And not just build them to say for the sake of saying, we've got an innovation team. You need to use them correctly. you need to have them build things that prepare you for the future. One important problem I think senior management right now has with understanding why they need an innovation team is that these revolutions of their industries will not come in their lifetime. And this is quite important because it's kind of, the next guy will have that problem. But if you really care about your organization, if you want it to be here in 100 years, you really need to think about onboarding a good innovation team with someone that knows what they're doing, focus on your business. Because the big tech companies are coming. They're looking for new markets, they have the money to spend on it, and they can deliver products fast and much better than what many of these old industries are doing right now. As we said on the Going Digital podcast, Apple is one backend and, a distribution channel, not even a distribution channel because they've got the mobile phone, so really just a backend away from being a bank, and a much better bank than many out there. Because I would much rather not have to carry credit cards or anything and just use my phone than to have my wallet with all the different credit cards and memorizing more pins. And then I try to swipe my card and it doesn't work. There are a ton of problems. So build an innovation team. Build an innovation team with structure. Build an innovation team with expectation management from both sides. Build an innovation team with a framework behind it. But do something.